Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Rod, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
7-footers gang, what is going on? Welcome back. You know what it is. Jenna and Jarod, we're doing our Western Conference preview today, baby. How we doing over there, Jarod?
Well, better than some people in the NBA, I would imagine right now.
The tea is so hot. Yes. I'm laughing. I shouldn't be laughing because it's so dramatic that it would literally be one of the best series on any streaming platform ever. I would watch it over and over.
I mean, it should be on Bravo. I mean, the NBA is a soap opera. It should be on Bravo.
The Real Housewives of the NBA.
Well, they kind of already have that, don't they? Kind of is it what was the one? Basketball Wives. It's like
oh, Basketball Wives, but this ain't anything. This is gonna actually be part of the Real Housewives franchise. You know how they take? I don't know if you know this, but now they've expanded into taking the husbands and doing different things with them. So the husbands go out and do their thing. They just get messed up, and that's gonna hurt. All right. Before we get too off path here, because you know how I am with the Housewives. Let's kick things off with Kyrie Irving because it's been the biggest headline of the week and it's only Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely problematic because my stress shouldn't come until at least Wednesday and then shake it off by the weekend. We pray. Anyway, the Nets general manager Sean Marks confirmed on October 12th, the day that we are recording this, that Kyrie Irving will not play this season until he is eligible under New York's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, which recommends players to be at least half vaccinated, one shot of COVID-19 vaccine. And so far, we are under the impression that Kyrie Irving is not vaccinated, seeing as he's not with his team. So huge news, huge hit for the Nets until it's really figured out what's going to happen in Brooklyn. I always say this, but for any new listeners, my guy Jarod here is in and out of the locker room when it's COVID friendly because he covers the team heavily. So the floor is yours, Jarod. Tell us what's going on and what's the latest, because this was a bombshell today.
It was, and Sean spoke to us at about noon today via Zoom because it was a last minute put together thing, so nothing was done in person. And the team is basically got to a point where they're like, look, the rubber met the road, shit or get off the pot, right? And this is kind of what they had to do. Because if you remember, Jenna, I said, the Nets have a goal of winning the NBA championship. In order to do that, all the people on your boat must be rowing in the same direction at the same tempo. You can't have one person going backwards or going sideways. No. That's going to mess up the whole direction of the boat. Number one. Number two, this is the NBA and an NBA season. Something else is going to happen in the course of this season. What? I don't know. And oftentimes, multiple somethings happen, right? Whether that be injury, whether that be trade, whatever situation may be. So if your goal is to win a championship, why would you have self-inflicted things on your team to start the process? That doesn't help, right? That makes it worse. And so they would have had people like me and in the media asking every day, what about Kyrie? What about Kyrie? Right? And it would have gotten annoying. So the Nets said, you know what? We're not going to have that problem. Home or road, it doesn't matter. Until Kyrie Irving meets the vaccination standard, he will not be with the team. So he won't practice. And remember, that's important because last Friday, it had come out that because the Brooklyn Nets HSS training facility is a private office, that they were going to allow him to practice while the team was at home. The Nets were like, nah, forget that. No practice, no home games, obviously, under the New York City mandates. And the thought was, well, he could be a part-time player and play on the road. Nah, Sean Marks was like, nope, you ain't playing on the road either. Zero. So you are basically separated from the team. And Jenna, this had to happen. And Sean was asked today, did KD and James Harden sign off on this? Now, Sean Marks is an excellent GM, and of course, he's going to protect Kevin and James. And he said, the decision to move on without Kyrie came from me and owner Joe Tsai. The players were kept informed about what we were doing throughout the whole process, but this was our decision. Now, that's excellent. Sean doing his thing. Jenna, you and I know Sean and Joe cannot make this decision unless Kevin Durant and James Harden okay it and sign off, right? That is how the NBA works. The power players dictate what happens. And Kevin said, you know what? Cool. Move forward. Now, here's the interesting thing, Jenna, because you brought this up last week. What happens to the relationship between Kevin and Kyrie? Now we know Kevin is not a confrontational guy. That's not his thing. He's come out and he said, I'm not someone to go tell a guy what they got to do and what they don't do, right? Kyrie's got to make the decision on his own. Well, at some point, it needs to be severed ties completely, right? From the team standpoint, because we don't want to say, well, because then you know what's going to happen. All right, a couple weeks go by, everybody forgets about it, no one asks. But then come January, February, it's like, hey, you know what? What if Kyrie decides to get his vaccination? He comes back in March. This team's going to be blah, blah, blah. They're going to be so much better. All this thing. And it's like, that's going to be another soap opera and story you don't need heading towards the playoffs, the most important time of the year. So this is phase one of the Brooklyn Nets. And I believe, from sources and people I've talked to, the next phase is putting a deadline, an ultimatum on, yo, you are either with us this season at some point, right? And the deadline date for that is X. And if you're not, contract voided, whatever we got to do through the CBA, collective bargaining agreement, done. So that way we don't have to answer any questions about this, and we just move forward with the team we have. Because, Jenna, here's the other important thing. I said they want to win a championship, right? Kevin Durant and James Harden are not 25 or 26 years old players, right? Who, in theory, have a long long road ahead of them. They are on the back nines of their careers. Now, they're not going to retire anytime soon, but they only have so many opportunities left to win a championship. These guys are in their 30s now, early 30s. This ain't going to happen every year. So, hey, Kyrie, should I get off the pot, my guy? We're going to move forward without you. And I think this is the right move for the Nets to make.
I completely agree. This is the Nets putting down the hammer. It is them saying, hey, we're acting in the best interest of the team from the get-go, which is super important, because if they try to play the cover-up game, try to navigate around the rules and the whole you can be here part-time thing, that is so messy. I can't even begin to dive into the possible scenarios that would come out of that. So they dodged that. Great move on their part. What I thought was super interesting was the way Marks worded certain things. He said this is Kyrie's choice. We expect it, but he gave us no choice other than to make this decision that we prohibit him from being a part-time player. So I wonder what Kyrie thinks about that decision and how he feels about it. Just because a lot of people would take that, especially the star player, as, hey, you don't have my back. But who knows? I'm not saying that's how Kyrie feels. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Because you don't have a team turning their back on like a LeBron James. Not that I'm comparing him and Kyrie, but you know what I mean? One of the franchise faces at this point, aside from Durant.
That is an excellent point you bring up, Jenna. And Sean addressed that today to us when he's like, I don't want to get into how Kyrie feels. I'm sure Kyrie and his team aren't happy about it. But you said it correctly, Jenna, when Sean said Kyrie had his own choice. And we are okay with the fact that everyone has their own choice to make as it relates to their own bodies and their own health. That is a factual statement. However, and this is very key, Jenna, that most people don't seem to understand, freedom of choice does not mean freedom of consequences, okay? You can choose to do just about whatever you want, okay? You can choose that. You are free to do that. However, you're not free of the consequences as a result of your choice. And the Nets decide, hey, man, we're not going to have a part-time player here. Because think about that, Jenna. You're messing up the chemistry. So we go on a road trip for 8 games. All right, Kyrie is here. Shit's good. Then all of a sudden we're home for a 6-game homestand. Well, he's not here. What is that? So on, off. No, we're not. Nah.
No.
Sean said it's not fair to the team. It's not fair to Kyrie because also, if he is away from the team, right? Sean's like, I don't know what he's doing practice-wise and how he is ramping up from a physical health standpoint to get on the court to be at his best self. That's just, and to your point, Jenna, it's just silly. Like, who ever heard of that? Like, that's just, no, nobody is doing that. So
right.
I think it makes sense on all sides. And again, Kyrie now has to sit with himself and ask himself a question. How much do I actually care about basketball and basketball with this team, my brothers, right? Who he always says, Kevin and I came here together to do this thing, blah, 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 build this team, win champ. Okay, how much of that do you really believe and mean and want to? And are you willing to sacrifice? Because, Jenna, that's the name of the game. No team that wins title does so without sacrifice. That's how this is played. So if you want to do that and roll with us, cool.
That is part of the definition of being a true winner, is sacrifice.
Yes.
Sacrifice of something. And at this point, again, I know this is a special case of a global pandemic.
I mean, what are we really asking him to sacrifice? I mean,
of.
come on.
But what about the deals that you made with people? Hey, Kev, let's go do this thing. Let's run it. Like, let's go get a chip in Brooklyn. Ba, 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 ba. All right, you leave here. You come here. All right. Well, okay, now you want to put this team's fate in jeopardy because of a decision for yourself, which I respect, but this is a team situation. We were talking about Malika Andrews' response before. This is a consequence that you are facing as a team now. It's a team for a reason. I get peripheral treatment and things like that, but this is something that is just very, very...
Not to mention we are in a global pandemic, as you mentioned, Jenna, and getting the vaccine is a good thing for everyone, not just yourself, but your loved ones, your teammates, the people you come in contact with, the arena workers, all that. You are doing public good, not just yourself, but good for everyone. So, it's like my guy, again, should have get off the pot. And the second piece you brought up there about star player, etc. Here's also why the Nets were able to do this, Jenna. Make no mistake. I want to be very clear. Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal player. He was 50, 40, 90 last year, all NBA third team. Like, you don't just replace that off the street. One of the more skilled guys we've ever seen in the history of this game. There's no denying that. But let us also be clear. The best player on this team is Kevin Durant, okay? Like, that is the player whom their championship hopes are tied to. And because they have James Harden now as well, and the pickup of Patty Mills in the offseason, and drafting Cam Thomas. See, one thing about Sean Marks is, Sean Marks, great GM, very clever, smart guy. He reads the tea leaves. What do we know about Kyrie? He's kind of an enigma, right? You never know. The dude could just bug out and decide, I'm taking 2 weeks off, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Again, when your goal is to win a championship and you need someone to be dependable and there all the time, you cannot count on Kyrie doing that. So, guess what? James Harden was the insurance for that. Getting Patty Mills, extra insurance, and drafting Cam Thomas. So honestly, Jenna, if Kyrie's not there this season, they're going to be fine. I would still pick this team to win the NBA championship. Now, with Kyrie, they are an overwhelming favorite if everybody's healthy, right? Because then it's just like, well, that's just an embarrassment of riches. But I still think with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and the rest of that team, if those guys are all together and healthy, that's still good enough to win a championship.
Very interesting take. That was also one of my questions. Really quick, though, because I did find this very interesting for people trying to dissect the situation. And when I say people, I mean fans and others following this entire situation that is like no other. Kyrie Irving, say this goes the distance. So we travel into the season, right? He is going to miss all home games. That's 41, including 2 more because it's at MSG. So same New York laws. That salary is he's not going to get the money for those games missed.
Correct.
Per the law. However, he's going to get the money that he's owed for road games.
Correct.
Because it is the team's decision not to play him.
Correct.
So he could be a part-time player.
He could, technically, but the team doesn't want to.
Team's choice.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of people haven't differentiated yet, though.
Yeah.
So he will get half of that paycheck on his, what, $34
30,
million
yeah.
contract?
I mean, so you're basically get 15, 16 million for sitting at home. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad work if you can get it.
Not bad at all. I mean, I think we'd all be all right with that, and then some. What's up? You get a car. You get a car. So, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people aren't separating that and thinking that he's not getting paid at all, or you know what I mean? So very, very interesting. He has yet to publicly address any of this going on in the media. Not that he does. It's very rare when he does. However,
I mean, he's going to go on Instagram Live and, do his thing.
Exactly. And, I get so nitpicky when it comes to this narrative stuff, you know me, but he logged on Instagram Live, and I was working at the time, so were you, I'm sure. So I knew something was going on, so I swipe right on, and he's like, just kind of like laughing in the camera, like, all right, I'm doing media day virtually, but haha, I'm definitely doing it here too. Like, you just want us to hear on live what you're saying, just so it's like out there,
right?
Like I get it, you're protecting yourself, but it's just like, come on, you say you don't want to be the distraction,
but you are. This is exactly what you're doing. This is 100%.
Say that.
100%.
My man's up here. But I don't know.
But the Nets making this move, though, it ceases to be a distraction right now, right? They're like, look, he's not with us until he decides what he's going to do. And then the last thing I'll say on this, Jenna, is as the team now, so the rest of the players, they weren't. This is an off day, so they weren't at practice today. Tomorrow, when they're at practice and they have media availability, here's what I would do if I were the Nets players: answer any Kyrie questions tomorrow, right? Because okay, they're going to have them, whatever. But I'd make it very clear. After today, I am not answering any more Kyrie Irving questions. You want to know what's going on with Kyrie? Go talk to him. Like, from now on, we're about the business of this team and getting the season started right next Tuesday. We go to Milwaukee to the defending champs. We got a big game to open the season. That's what we're focused on right now. No more Kyrie questions. Simple as that.
Yeah,
and move forward.
I'd honestly, I'd be like, hey, if somebody wasn't at practice today, I'm not answering the question. So, because they weren't here, so I can't answer anything about it.
Again, as I said, you go talk to Kyrie. You find him and ask him questions. We're good. Done.
And that is all she wrote. However, there's going to be so much more tomorrow, because when that media availability opens up, you're going to see them running through the gates like friggin' bats out of hell. That's it. They're going to be like microphones in the face, everything. All right, let's move on, though, because Kyrie remains a mystery that we can't crack tonight, that we don't have enough time on the fucking tape. Oops, excuse me.
It's all right. It happens. All good.
It's so upsetting as me. All right, let's move on to another soap opera in its own, because this one is just continuing to unravel in ways unimaginable. So Ben Simmons, who has been, as you guys know, hopefully if you haven't been following, having a holdout with the Sixers, he shows up at Wells Fargo Center, where they're having a preseason game where they actually won and beat the Nets on Monday night. And he shows up early. They expected him later in the week and to take a COVID test, start the protocol to come back and be with the team. But interestingly enough, he still hasn't spoken out, and the standoff is still on. So a lot of people don't realize, which I wanted to point out, is that just because Simmons is back in Philly does not mean that he's going to be fully rejoining the team that we know of right now. He could choose to sit and, hopefully wait out for a trade. Who knows? But Simmons is back in the city of brotherly love. What are your thoughts? Because I don't think he's feeling the love.
I was gonna say, well, the city certainly ain't got no love for him. That's for sure. Look,
heck no, not anymore.
He and Rich Paul, in my estimation, played this poorly. Because again, Jenna, they had no real leverage. Ben has 4 years left on that deal. Like, it isn't like he's got 1 year left or whatever. It's 4 years still left on that deal. He had no leverage, and clearly the prospect of missing all those game checks was like, I don't know if I want to do this. It's like, yeah, listen, maybe you weren't really about that life. They thought, Rich and Clutch thought they could force Daryl Morey's hand. And look, there's one thing you know about Daryl. Daryl is stubborn AF, okay? Like, he's going to dig in his heels, and Daryl's going to only move unless it is in the best interest of the Philadelphia 76ers in his mind. So he's waiting for the trade that he wants, not what you want. That's number one. Number two, again, Daryl also does not care about people feeling uncomfortable and let me tell you right now, because Daryl's cool with it, because he ain't in the locker room, so he don't care. That locker room is going to be awkward as fuck, okay, when Simmons does eventually come back. Because here's what's happening. He wouldn't come back to Philly and start the COVID testing process if he was not going to somehow rejoin the team. Now, here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. He's going to rejoin the team. However that's going to work in terms of him and the team sort of somewhat coming together. Does he do the Harden thing where he tries to play so poorly that they're like, we got to get you out of here? Again, remember what I just said. Daryl doesn't care about awkwardness or things being weird. Does he start and play a couple of games, tweak an ankle, and then, my ankle's hurt, and then sit out for, another 6, 7, 8 weeks because he's injured? Who knows? These things are all in play. Again, Rich and Clutch, they have no real leverage here. Their only hope was that to make the situation untenable, that way they force Daryl to move him. But Daryl's not like that. Like, that's not his MO. The only thing, the way that will make that work is if the players start getting annoyed with what's going on, and then Sixers governor Josh Harris says to Daryl, I don't care, make a move. Those are the things. So the pressure points get to a point where people outside of Daryl, the players get annoyed, Josh Harris, the governor, gets annoyed, and he says, Daryl, I don't care, move him. Those would be the things that would force his hand. But otherwise, Daryl ain't doing anything.
Here's what bothers me. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, where is Uncle LeBron? What is he saying? Because this is pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm sorry. You get wiped in the media. And when I say the media, I'm not talking about our fellow journalists. I'm talking about the weatherman on news whatever in Philadelphia calling you a dumpster fire. And he doesn't even know what a technical foul means. Like, this is bad. And then I think to myself, okay, you ever go to work when we were, before COVID, and like something would happen maybe in the office and you were like, oh God, how am I going to face my coworkers?
Yeah, sure.
We've all been there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Imagine that times 1 billion.
Oh, it's going to be
whatever numbers
so
you can think of.
awkward.
In that locker room, I mean, there is no way. I mean, unless this guy's bringing in like, I don't even know, Bugattis. Is that a car, right?
I mean, but that doesn't even. And here's the thing, Jenna.
Everybody, like.
This is how it also is going to be weird, because Ben is not a confrontational kind of guy. That's not his thing, right? So it's going to be even more awkward on top of that. See, someone like Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy loves confrontation. So Jimmy Butler could pull something like this and it will be fine, right? He'll go to practice. We heard the whole story that happened out of Minnesota, right? He goes to practice. He just dominates the game. He starts like punking everybody, like, because Jimmy can do that.
Good.
He is a confrontation, get in your face kind of guy. That's his jam. So nothing's gonna make him feel awkward. Ben ain't wired that way. He doesn't roll that way. So I don't really know how this is all going to play out, and again, how things are going to fare in that locker room. Look, the trust between Ben and the organization is severed, right? He doesn't trust Doc. He doesn't trust Daryl. Like, he doesn't trust Joel. Like, I mean, it's just, right? I mean, we talked about it last week. Those guys wanted to fly out there to meet him. He was like, nah, I'm good. Right? Like, I mean, there is no trust there. And when the trust is broken in any relationship, Jenna, love, life, whatever, work, it doesn't matter. When the trust ain't there, that is not the foundation for any good relationship.
Amen. I mean, listen, don't let your girl give anybody relationship advice. However, inside joke. I'm dying. But for real though, like, I mean, listen, this, you have things that are blown up, you have things that are this and that, but like, one thing we do know about this situation is that it is messy and it is awkward. And I am sorry. I don't care who you are, what profession you have. This is awkward. For you to have to walk into work and face everybody. You know what I really think? What if he pushed and pushed and pushed, wanted this holdout, like, was like, I'm Ben Simmons. I know my worth, this and that, X, Y, Z. But then he didn't expect for a trade. Like, I think he expected some trade to happen, something. And he was just super angry and just wanted a trade so bad. And then when it didn't, he was like, shit.
Well,
Like, I'm stuck. Do I really sit out this season, or do I go back and suck it up and like figure it out?
well, the big thing, Jenna, of course, as I mentioned before, is it starts getting real when you start missing them game checks. Okay, like life all of a sudden gets, because again, it isn't. Excuse me. It isn't as though Ben is on his second max contract. He is on his rookie max extension, right? Again, with 4 years left. He hasn't banked $200 million already in this league, or $100 million, whatever, like Kyrie has. Where he's so Kyrie could for all intents and purposes, be like, I'm good. I got enough cash in the bank. I'm straight. Ben really ain't there yet. Now, he's made money in his career, to be clear, but he's not quite there yet. So the prospect of missing that money, and then again, just missing the game. It's like, are you really going to sit out an entire year of basketball? The thing you love to do.
Development, everything.
All that.
Yeah.
You're going to sit out a year of ball? Really? So, again, we'll see what develops in Philly, but it's, whoo. Last thing we'll say on this before we go to our conference preview in the West. You know who's loving all this right now, Jenna? The Milwaukee Bucks. They're like, yes, our two chief rivals in the conference, dumpster fires going on. Philly, they got Ben Simmons doing who knows what. Kyrie is in and out. Who knows? Milwaukee's
Let
like,
us fly under the radar.
we are the defending champs, and we are flying under the radar, and ain't nobody thinking about us. Our superstar's only 26. He's staying in Milwaukee. He's re-up. We good to go. Hey, just saying.
Heck yeah. Really quick last note on Simmons. You said, basically shit gets real when you start losing those checks and the numbers actually, you start seeing them add up. $360,000 for each of 2 preseason games that he missed. Just 2 preseason games.
Yeah, and
that's not counting the practices, which add up to what, $15K? This is all according to the NBA's collective bargaining agreement via ESPN.
That gets taken out of that $8 million that's sitting in escrow right now. So yeah, I mean, it's
$8 million, yeah. 8.25. So yeah, he is saying goodbye to a lot of money. So we shall see. They're supposed to reportedly meet on Tuesday, Simmons and the front office. So that should be really fun. And
see
maybe
how it goes.
Somebody will come out and say something wild. So we can only pray. Anyway, let's shift gears here because now we get to the fun stuff. Let's can the dramatics a little bit here because even your girl gets tired of that. So conference outlook here, guys. Now, if you guys watched last week's Eastern Conference preview, you know that we're going to go down the line between lottery-bound teams, playoff contenders, solid playoff teams, and then our title contending teams. And basically, dumpster fire to good. So we should fly through the lottery bound pretty quick at this point because let's talk about OKC. What is even happening there?
I mean,
at all?
I said this last week. Oklahoma City, tell me what the difference is between what OKC is doing right now and what the Philadelphia 76ers did under Sam Hinkie during the trust the process era. Same thing, right? Putting out a crap product. Putting out a crap product to hope you get a number 1 draft pick and continue to draft. Listen, they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and poor SGA. I mean, this is a guy who like has got a star potential all over him, but that roster, yikes! Look, we talk about Sam Presti all the time and all these draft picks he collected and all that, and it's like, look, man, because Oklahoma City's not a free agency destination, right? You're not going to get free agents to come there, so they're gonna have to draft well and then trade picks to get guys who were already good under contract. So that's what's going to be happening there. But this team's going to be awful this year. So no need to talk about that more. Free SGA. Moving on.
I gotta love it. Listen, big fans of SGA over here. Good guy. So let's move on here and talk about the Houston Rockets because although they are a young team now and they are more in a developmental stage, they have Jalen Green and co. And he has been balling in preseason. Yes, pump the brakes. It's just preseason, Jenna. Well, he's got some really great hair, so even if he sucks, he's gonna win at something. So just let it go. All right. That's all I have to say about that. But really quick, yeah, they have him. They have Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr., Kenyon Martin Jr., and
Jason Tate. Yep.
Yeah, the future looks good in Houston. But let's talk about right now why they are lottery bound, of course.
Well, because young guys, as you know, Jenna, don't win in this league. They don't know what they're doing yet. It's going to take them a while. But I like the promise and potential they have, right? Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Jason Tate, to keep all you mentioned, right? Like, maybe there's something there. Christian Wood, right? How good can Christian Wood be? He's super skilled, gets a little overpowered sometimes by bigger, super strong centers, but they got some nice young talent there. Are any of these people that we mentioned, are they the potential cornerstones and building blocks for a future team, right? Of course, they assume that with Jalen Green because they drafted him with their number 1 pick, right? Christian Wood, perhaps. Jayshawn Tate, excellent defender. We shall see what it all develops into. Paul Silas, listen, you signed it, you got this job a year ago. You had James Harden, you got DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall. You thought, hey, we about to do something, and then no. Speaking of John Wall, of course, we know they will likely buy him out and move him somewhere else. So, hopefully John Wall can get on with a contender somewhere, play backup point guard, and, do some stuff there. Reinvent himself in that way.
Hopefully in the East. What's up? How you doing? Let's move on and talk about one of the faves on the pod for a long time, the Minnesota Timber Puppies.
Timber Puppies.
They are lottery bound and still Timber Puppies because, they're just not doing really too good. However, they do have 3 solid pieces in Anthony Edwards and
D'Angelo Russell.
Who knows where he'll be at the trade deadline, but that's another conversation for another time. But let's talk about this trio. A lot of potential, but they have a lot of work to do in Minnesota.
I mean, Jenna, let's also not forget that they fired their GM the day that training camp started. Like, what? This franchise is a disaster. Look, we're gonna start the free. We're gonna start the free cat, campaign.
Hey,
I mean,
it worked with AD.
Karl-Anthony Towns has got to get out of there. Look, I think Anthony Edwards is fun and exciting. I think he's not only is he exciting as a player, and he got better every year. Last year as a rookie, he also is an excellent media interview and quote. Like he gets it. Like, you know what I mean? He gets it. This is entertainment. As the kids say, he understands the assignment, right? Like,
there's a lot of brand deals in his future, as
without
the
question.
Say, and as the kids say.
He's wonderful, but again, he's young. D'Angelo Russell, I mean, he is what he is, right? Like, I just
been on a plateau for a minute.
For as good as Cat is, like, I just don't know if he's ever going to reach the heights he wants to in that organization, and it's just been nothing but turmoil. The new coach again, it's just. I'm not holding out a lot of hope there, so moving on.
Question about Cat that's going to make me sound super critical. However, I don't mean it like that. Is Cat as good as we were convinced to think he is alongside Jimmy Butler? Or is Cat just not as good as what he was hyped up to be?
No, Cat is so skilled. He is so good. He is excellent. Last year, of course, the COVID bouts and all that, and some injuries have happened. But when this guy is right and is playing, I mean, he's the future 5, right? Stretch you out the 3-point land, can score inside, rebound. I mean, he's a beast. Like, he is so good, right? And he's still very young, right? So I just think that he just needs the right scenario and environment around him. And honestly, Jen, it's not Minnesota right now. And does he get to a point where he says, you know what? Get me the hell out of here. Does he pull that move? Get me out. Because Minnesota is atrocious.
The thing with them is, really quick, he's one of those Damian Lillard types that's like, I want to live here for the rest of my life and
great.
Just finish my career here.
And play losing basketball your whole career? Sounds awesome.
Yeah, in Minnesota, out of all places.
Right, great.
Good luck. But let's move on, because another team that needs luck and that is lottery bound is the New Orleans Pelicans, because it's like they basically cleared house. I mean, you just saw so many guys just trudge through there a little bit, and then you have one left in Zion Williamson, who is just dealing with a broken foot.
Jenna.
Surgery for a broken foot that we didn't know occurred in the offseason. I mean, is it time for him to be like, let's remember, the number 1 pick of the draft, he already signed a Jordan deal, has a shoe, the whole 9. Is it time for him to be like, get me out of here?
Look, this is Zion's 3rd season. He's already on his 3rd head coach, Willie Green, the new coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. Like, what? Again, what is going on with this franchise? Now, Zion and Brandon Ingram, those 2 alone should be enough to win you 44 games and get into at least a play-in, right? So I kind of asterisk the Pelicans because they really shouldn't be in a lottery category. They should be in playoff contenders. But I don't know what's going to happen to this team. Every year something goes on. Zion with the foot. Will he stay healthy this year? I don't know. Are they sure about Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Can he develop? Willie Green, who I think will be a good coach coming from Phoenix, this is his first year. You got to give him some time. There's going to be some learning, some development, right? They're putting in a whole new system. Again, New Orleans, what are we doing? And to your question about, Zion looking to move, look, we already know all the stories that came out about the Knicks and all that. Will he try to get out of here? Let's also remember that no rookie has ever turned down the rookie max extension, which Zion will get, right? So it's going to be very hard for him to walk away from $200-odd million. But who knows? This team is, I just don't trust organizationally right now. Like, what's Griff and Trajan Langdon doing? Like, what are they doing? Stan Van Gundy was here a year. And he was like, no, it's not working. So with New Orleans, it's show me. You got to show me because I don't believe it right now.
You tell him. Listen, you're going to write my next freaking breakup speech. Show me. Oh, my God.
Show me you love me.
Damn it. All right, moving on because, God, my love life is a boring story. Let's not talk about it. The Sacramento Kings. What's Luke Walton doing there with the ace in De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley? You would say that those two enough can help you at least potentially make the play-in or something close to that. Well, we're riddled by injury with Bagley a lot of the time. Is De'Aaron Fox due for a breakout season? Tyrese Halliburton, what are we doing in Sacramento?
You know what the common theme is, Jenna, among all the teams that are in the lottery section, like that we think are lottery bound? We just have questions. That's all. All we're doing is asking questions.
So many questions.
Because we don't know, and if we don't know, they damn sure don't know. Look, Sacramento, one of the original dumpster fire teams. Luke Walton. Are we sure he's a good head coach? No, we actually are sure about that. He's not. I like De'Aaron Fox and I like Tyrese Halliburton. But what are they? Can De'Aaron Fox be the best player on a championship team? I don't think so. Tyrese Halliburton's only in year 2 coming up, so time to see. Marvin Bagley, I'm sorry to say, listen, of that vaunted draft class with Luka, DeAndre Ayton, Jarod Jackson Jr. and everybody, that pick was not good. It is not working out in Sacramento. And again, we always talk about this, Jenna. So much of a player's development and who they ultimately become and do they reach their full potential depends on who drafts them. We know Sacramento ain't good. They're not a good organization. So, this guy is he's out there in like no man's land in many ways. And then Buddy Hield. Are they going to move him? We thought he was going to go to the Lakers over the summer. Right? That's where all the talk was. Is he someone that gets moved? Because, again, in Sacramento, they have young guys who could be something. But what? What is that something? What are they? We don't know. And do they have a direction? What is your direction as a team and as a franchise? I don't know. So,
That's a big question mark. Same thing in San Antonio with the Spurs under the legendary Greg Popovich. And we have, DeJounte Murray, who's way due for a breakout season after that injury, ACL. So what about the Spurs?
I like DeJounte Murray. He looked good coming off the ACL. I think
he does.
I think he's a good player. Excuse me. They got Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker IV, young guy Devin Vassell, Josh Primo this year, rookie, and they got Zach Collins from Portland. They have a lot of guys. Jakob Pertl. I mean, they got guys, but again, who and what are they? Losing DeMar DeRozan, their lone all-star. No Aldridge, right? Who's the guy, right? Like, Jenna, we know if you're gonna go to the playoffs in this league, you got to have a guy, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. Who's that in San Antonio? That all right? This is you can guess a bucket, no problem. Who is it? Maybe.
Out of that pool of.
Maybe it's DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray.
Right, but is he good enough? Right, with the rest of those pieces around him.
He's still proving that. That was supposed to be the ACL season. So.
Yeah. So I think San Antonio, much like New Orleans, Jenna, is going to hover around that. Maybe we get into that play-in area because I just don't, And you got to give Pop some, and there's some institutional knowledge there, but I just don't love it. I'm like, it's not.
Risky.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. Well, that was boring. Let's talk about playoff contenders because this is where the conversation amps up a little bit because these teams actually have somewhat of a blueprint. So let's talk about the Mavericks because, of course, we have the massive powerhouse that is Luka Doncic, and he's coming back looking bigger, better than ever, more skilled, ready to go. And, of course, Kristaps Porzingis, who I feel as though in the offseason was getting over some humps of maybe a little behind the scenes, rumor mill, dramatics, that type of deal, because we know that Dallas was in the news so much in the offseason. We, have a new head coach in Jason Kidd. How crucial will Jason Kidd be to this, I don't want to say turnaround in Dallas, but they need a major step up, especially in the postseason?
No, Jenna, I think you're right on. Look, the reason why I have Dallas in the playoff contenders and not like, a lock playoff team, look, I think they are. The reason why I have them there is this. I know what Luka Doncic is. One of the 5 best players in the league, right? MVP candidate. Like, I know that. And that in and of itself, because he's one of those guys, that's usually good enough to get you 48, 50 wins. Just having one of those kinds of guys, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I don't know. What is the deal, and where are we on Kristaps Porzingis? When they made this move, I thought, oh man, Luka and KP together? And that's going to be a nice little duo.
I think everyone did.
I don't know. He's constantly hurt. We heard about the potential, maybe not great relationship between him and Luka. What's going on there? Okay, put that aside. After Luka Doncic, Jenna, who is the Mavericks' secondary on-ball creator? Yeah, see?
There's no one.
Yeah, see? You see, you're like, quiet, right?
You actually think about
Trey
it.
Burke?
When you think about it.
Jalen Brunson? Tim Hardaway Jr.?
But to carry you over that hump that they need to be carried, no.
And that is my point with them, where I'm like, all right, like Luka's amazing, and he's so good he can mask so many of those deficiencies, particularly in the regular season. But other than that, and then let's also be fair about something. Jason Kidd could have gotten better as a coach, but based on what we saw of his last stints as head coach, if you compare him to Rick Carlisle's a better coach. So they may have taken a step down in X's and O's with Jason Kidd. Maybe not. Maybe Kidd got better. Who knows? But again, we'll see. So those reasons are why I moved them out of playoff locks into playoff contenders, just because I just don't love, beyond Luka, I'm like, meh. No, everyone else has got to show me. The rest of you got to show me. Luka's fine. I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, that's a completely fair assessment, because Kristaps Porzingis is coming off an extremely poor season, especially a dip in the post-season.
And injuries.
Yeah, exactly. He's another one of those guys, came back, more pounds of muscle on him. We'll see how that translates down in the paint there.
We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. Let's move on and talk about the Golden State Warriors, because it would be ridiculous if I didn't start with the return of Klay Thompson after the ACL and then the consecutive injury of the Achilles. The most devastating injuries you could suffer in the game, in my opinion, and I think we've talked about that before. But again, his return. So this is special because not only is it special for Golden State fans, but just in general, we're getting back to the old era that once pissed me off so bad of the domination of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. But it's going to be nice to see them back together and see Steph explode in another year of his prime, see Klay return. What can we expect from the Golden State Warriors? Are we going to see a completely different team, a.k.a. the old team?
Well, so this is why, Jenna, I have them in contenders and not in solid playoff team. The Warriors, to me, are the most confounding team in the league. Again, I want to use this line I used last when I talked about the Dallas Mavericks. I know who Steph Curry is. I know that. I know what I'm getting there. Am I getting the Klay Thompson back, or am I getting a diminished version of Klay? I don't know. I got to see it. I have no idea. Particularly, I'm not worried about his shooting. Shooters will always be able to shoot. Is he going to be the same defensively? I don't know. And that's the thing that people forget. His defense is a large portion of why that team was able to do what they did. Okay. I don't know. Did Draymond all of a sudden learn to shoot in the offseason? Or... I mean, he had that one year where he shot like 36, 37% from three. Hasn't been doing that lately. Is that back? I don't know. Jordan Poole. Juan Toscano Anderson. They're nice pieces. Young guys, but nice guys. Nice young pieces. James Wiseman, between college and last year as a rookie, has limited experience. And we're counting on...
injury.
Yeah, and we're counting on Kuminga and Moody. They're rookies. Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. We know from experience, rookies don't all of a sudden get good and like start dominating and help you win. Or do the Warriors package either a combination of Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody to get a solid all-star in return. I don't know. And so for all of those reasons, that's why I have Golden State here, because they can easily be a solid playoff team and a 5 seed, possibly a 4 seed. But if the rest of this moves the way it is with just the roster in hand, I don't know that the rest of those guys are good enough. Now, if you're telling me Klay comes back and he's old Klay, Draymond, fine. But I don't know. I got to see it.
Right. Interesting that you say package for an all-star, because I feel as though, let's call a spade a spade. Steph, of course, is in one of the years of his prime, but he's not getting any younger. And again, I'm not trying to pull a father time on him.
But it's true.
These guys, they're in win now mode is what the point that I'm
Correct.
trying to make without insulting them about their age. But, it is what it is. You're in win now mode. You want another chip. You want to bring it back. So you need Klay to come back almost 100% from what he was. And again, it's an Achilles. You're never going to come back
Achilles
really 100%.
and an ACL.
Kobe and an ACL. Yeah, I mean, unless you're Kevin Durant, but that's a different story. But the thing with Klay is one of the best two-way players in the league. So is he going to be explosive off, you know what I mean? So again, that's time will tell with that. But yeah, they're in win now mode. So I'll be interested to see what moves they make and what assets they get, because, they could surprise everyone.
Yeah, if look,
Steph dropping 50 a game.
We know what Steph is, and we know what Draymond is on defense and how he facilitates on offense. Look, again, if those three are, and Klay is closely back to what he was, then yeah, as I said, that's a top 4 seed, no doubt. But if one of those things aren't working, then they ain't that, right?
Yeah, big facts. I mean, we shall see. Let's move on here and talk about the Grizzlies and Ja Morant, because while they have him, they have a guy, the franchise face. What else do you have? I mean, I know they got your guy in Triple J over there hanging out, and you're expecting a breakout season. I already caught you on every other one of your 10 shows today. But talk to me about your Grizzlies and give us some insider knowledge.
Well,
here.
Jenna, I am high on my Grizzly Cubs. I think they can really make a move up this year and potentially win a round in the postseason. Look, Ja Morant has been transcendent and he's getting better. Will his three-point shot get better? That's a big thing for them. Can he get to the free throw line more? Right now he's averaging about 4.5, 5 trips to the line. Can he get there 6.5, 7 times a game, right? That's important. Easy points at the free throw line. But the key to them making this ascension that I'm thinking in potentially winning around in the playoffs, moving up from the play-in area to a 7, a 6 seed, right? Well, that's technically still play-in, but you know what I mean. Higher than 10 or 9, right? Okay. It's Jarod Jackson Jr. That's Triple J is the key. Coach David Thorpe and I said it. We see when he came out of the draft, we were like, man, this guy could be Tim Duncan 2.0, right? Ooh. Now, defensively, he has not been able to do that, and he's had some health issues early in his career. But so far in the preseason, Jenna, his foul rate, which has been the thing, as you know, that's been hampering him. His first few years in the league, he's had the highest foul rate in the league, literally a foul a second. Seems like he started the game with 2 fouls before he even tipped off. All right? His foul rate has been down dramatically in the preseason, I know, but way down. His rebounding numbers have gone up, which is big. Remember, we had him on the show, and I joked to him, you gotta rebound better, bro. His rebound numbers have gone up.
My anxiety.
And when he's healthy, he's a 39% shooter from 3. Look, Jenna, if he's doing 20 points a game, 7, 8 boards, 1.5 blocks, and shooting 38, 39% from 3, yeah, that plus with Ja Morant, that's huge. Now, news just came down right before we started recording that Dylan Brooks, one of their starting guards, he had a hand injury in the offseason and surgery. He will not be ready to start the season. They're still reevaluating that. So that's going to hurt them because Dylan in many ways is an emotional leader for them and someone who can hit tough shots. So that's going to hurt them. So they're going to need Desmond Bain, Kyle Anderson, and some of their other players to step up and play better. So that's going to hurt them a little bit to start the season. But they're going to have to play those young guys. And again, if Ja and Triple J can be who we think they are, I think this team's going to be great this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might need to even drop a little most improved player little nod for Triple J a little bit ahead of time and cast it out there, put it into the universe, and maybe it'll come back for us. Let's move on and talk about the Trailblazers because after a dramatic offseason, Dame has committed, of course, to his beloved Portland and, of course, the rest of the backcourt and CJ McCollum and the big addition of Larry Nance Jr. And I think getting Larry Nance is great for them on the offensive end more than the defensive end, but is it enough to take them over, again, this hump? They're another team that has a postseason hump that they need to get over.
So that was Dame's big thing, right? We're just not good enough to win a championship, right? Well, is this roster gotten better enough, to your point, to win a championship? Don't look like it to me. And not only that, you have first-year head coach in Chauncey Billups, right? So that's going to be a whole new process. And look, Dame is a loyal guy. He wants to give this a chance. You know, on True Hoop, we reported that Dame was going to request a trade. Again, we still stand by that reporting because we know our sources. Now, Dame got angry that the source let that out, which is why he then pulled back and said, no, I'm staying and doing all that. Look, we shall see. I don't know that he's going to be long for Portland because this roster right now, that's not a top three. That's not a contending roster. That's not good enough to win a championship. So I don't know what he's thinking. Like, okay, stick around, we'll see what happens. But this roster as it is, and I love CJ McCollum. They got good players over there, but not enough to win in the West.
Hey, again, another team we shall see. But I think that the way Dame handled this summer was his ticket to say, okay, you need to take some action. If not, if this team isn't good enough, which they tanked in free agency. So, again, I mean, yes, Larry Nance, but other than that, they didn't make any big moves to please Dame.
And
so
let's be clear. As much as we like Larry Nance Jr. ain't moving the needle and making you a championship contender.
Exactly. Which, they tanked in free agency. So this was Dame's ticket to say, hey, I put it out in the public that you guys needed to do something. I've done my part. So this is it. This is my last season until I'm out of here. Bron, what's up? Hurry up. I only got a couple years left. Let's go. That's it. All right. Let's move on here and talk about solid playoff teams that we have so much faith in. At least we hope. But again, they've even surprised us in the past. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets with the return of Jamal Murray after the ACL, returning MVP Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., who should hopefully buy everybody Rolexes because he just got paid. So this trio alone, talk to me about it. What is going on in Denver?
So, Jenna, if Jamal Murray were healthy to start the season, because again, he's coming off the ACL, so we probably won't see him till the spring at the earliest. If he was healthy,
just in time for the postseason.
If he was healthy, I would have picked them to come out of the West. This was my pick to come out of the Western Conference, but he ain't. So that's why they're in the playoff category, but not in the contender category. And I don't know what he's going to look like coming off the ACL, so we got to wait and see. However, they do have Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP, and Michael Porter Jr. might damn well make his first All-Star team. Okay, so because he's gonna get a lot of shots up now, and right, and we know one thing he can do is score that rock.
I would have two balls in my hand at this. Oh, that sounds terrible. I would have two basketballs in my hand at this point, just chucking them up in the game. Literally, I just got paid. Let's go.
So
he's probably gonna skip into the lineup.
I mean, listen, you know I'm a big fan of MPJ. I don't love his anti-vax stance, but big fan of his game. And I like this Denver team a lot. I think, again, institutional knowledge is there. I think they'll be fine. They had a rough playoff go. Again, no Murray, and, it was rough going of things. But I think they're going to come in this year, be solid, and I like the squad to be right up in the mix. And, again, if Murray comes back in time for the playoffs and he's good, they can make some noise in the postseason. But that's a big if because he hurt the ACL in, May? I want to say
it was late.
So, yeah. That's not even a full 12 months, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see about that. Excited to see them, though. Let's talk about the Clippers because the Clippers are just It's like seeing the Lakers without LeBron. That's what it is. I mean, you have you have Kawhi recovering from the ACL, and while the Clippers are optimistic, you're starting the season without Kawhi Leonard. So immediately you're going to have Paul George leading this team, but then you have Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka, Terrence Mann, maybe Eric Bledsoe. While these are all good names together, can the Clippers come together and make something happen, especially without Kawhi Leonard?
So, of course, they can't win it without Kawhi. We know that, right? So they're not a contender. I think they're a solid playoff team, though. Look, I don't love Bled in the backcourt, but Reggie Jackson has revitalized his career in Los Angeles with the Clippers. And remember, I mean, yes, Kawhi was there for part of it, but they beat the Utah Jazz, the number 1 seed, right? They did that. Terrence Mann's a great young player. Does Justice Winslow finally figure things out in Los Angeles with Ty Lue? And as much as we make fun of Pandemic P and whatever and all this stuff, Paul George can hoop. This guy can play. He is very good.
Facts.
And if he's now the number 1 option and you run things off, I think that's fine. That's good enough, right? They can do that. And if Kawhi comes back at any point this season, I think they'll be solid. The Clippers should be a solid ball club. I think the West, because of injuries, are so muddled, right? Like they're just a muddled league, conference this year, and not as strong as they've been in the years past. I mean, the East is clearly a superior conference right now. But, I think the Clippers are still a solid team.
Agreed. I'm expecting hopeful, exciting things out of them. Let's move on to title contenders, the most exciting teams in the West. Our picks, of course, which are likely, hopefully, if you're in your logical, right, rational mind, yours as well. So let's kick things off with the Lakers. And I'm not even going to sit here and crack a geriatric joke because I think that all of you guys are going to eat your words. Yes, are these guys, one step away from, we're not even going to go there. But, okay, LeBron James, we have the acquisitions of Russell Westbrook, the return in Rondo.
Carmelo Anthony.
That's what I mean by, hey, Bron, I need a chip. Let's go. It's late in the game. So talk to me about this team. Of course, they get trolled about their age. However, let's talk about the flip side of it, which nobody talks about. The years of experience, the way they see the court vision. Don't with the smirk. I see the smirk. I see the smirk. I can't even.
So on my notes, Jenna, I have, will Team AARP be okay come postseason? Because that's who they are. They are Team AARP. Look, Trevor Ariza is already hurt. Already. He's going to miss the start of the year. He's old guy already hurt to start the year. And here's what's going to hurt them now. Talon Horton Tucker. Young guy. Thumb surgery. Ligaments. Okay, well, that's a young guy who's hurt. They're going to need THT and Malik Monk to really play a lot of minutes and help them this year because they are an old team. Look, I know how great LeBron James is, but let's be clear about something. Every year he's been in LA since he got here, he's had an injury. We know what the number 1 predictor of future injury is. Previous injury. Listen, he can't be robotic man forever, okay? There's going to be some kind of nick or whatever that's going to take him out for a little bit of time, it seems. Now, you'll be all good if Anthony Davis plays like Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis is Defensive Player of the Year, potential league MVP, you're good to go. But as Charles Barkley so eloquently called him on Inside the NBA last year, street clothes, okay? Because Anthony Davis leads the league in going back to the locker room, right? And it's just like, listen, injury prone, this team, right? They have a lot of guys who get banged up. So let's just say, Jenna, all things being equal, they make it through, they're healthy, everybody's fine, whatever. I think if they're healthy during the regular season, they'll win a ton of games and be a potential 1 seed. I don't like this team come postseason because there's not enough spacing on the floor. We already know the Russell Westbrook situation, so we don't got to go into that. The non-shooting there. Okay, you got to surround him with, or if Rondo, we know, also non-shooting. You put Malik Monk out there to shoot. Okay, good. Or Wayne Ellington to get around him so that way you have shooting. Well, you give up defense now, and Russ ain't great on defense either. And remember, this Lakers team, when they won the title 2 years ago in the bubble, what was their identity? Defense. Well, they're worse on defense as a team now. So, again, are they good enough? Of course they are. But the age and how they're going to look come postseason as it relates to floor spacing, that's what has me like, I don't know. I ain't betting on that.
You know what? My opinion is that I just in the NBA soap opera that like lives in this side of my head, and then like the real world is like right here. I think to myself, I'm not joking. It's like they're gonna make a show out of it one day. Like LeBron James, like whatever team he's on, especially the Lakers, it's like a little secret society. It's like, oh, once you're in, like come on over with me. Then there's movie premieres, random parties on a Tuesday, getting blacked out off of Wolf, whatever the hell tequila it is. And I think to myself, like, oh my God, so maybe, just hear me out. You know how LeBron, does all these things with his body and whatnot. I'm thinking that maybe he bought all of these men, these geriatric men, not for the rookies, but these guys, each one of their own, like, Benjamin Button chambers that they can all,
Benjamin Button chambers.
hibernate in and, like, stay strong for the season. So I'm hoping that they come out, refreshed, ready to go, all of a sudden youthful and ready to go.
Well,
ready
look,
to take it all, baby.
Maybe they found Ponce de Leon and the Fountain of Youth. We'll see.
You never know. Maybe they went to Italy, damn it. All right, let's move on because I'm going to get emotional. Let's go not too far, short plane ride away, couple-hour drive to Phoenix to talk about the Suns because, as you guys know, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre, and of course, they made a nice run to the finals last season. However, this season the West looks much different and the East is a juggernaut that we just went over last week. Go check out the episode. So let's talk about this though, because apparently there are still rumblings of tension with this Ayton contract that they apparently refuse to give the man his money, although he was a huge part of their finals run last season.
Well, they're going to have to get that squared away, Jenna. And if that is the case, and I'm hearing similar things, I don't want that to be the thing that derails them. Because right now, that's the thing I see that can derail them. Otherwise, this is the same team that went to the finals last year. By the way, the same team that went to the finals last year and had a 2-0 lead in the NBA finals. Okay? So, we talked about it last week and at the beginning of this show. Milwaukee flying under the radar, right? No one's thinking about them because of the disaster in Philly, what's going on with Kyrie in Brooklyn. Nobody thinking about the Phoenix Suns either. What's everybody saying? Oh, last year was a fluke. The only reason why they got so far is because everybody was hurt, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. Okay. Fly under the radar. Do your thing. Let's get that DeAndre Ayton situation handled. And then, think about it. You got Bridges makes another leap. Devin Booker makes another leap. DeAndre Ayton makes another leap. The point guard is who he is. He does his thing. Cam Johnson steps up again. Cam Payne off the bench. Like, Jay Crowder's been excellent. I like this squad a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that...
And the coaching.
And Monty Williams has been fantastic. And I think people are just going to sleep on them and think, oh, they were a fluke last year. They're not the real deal. But, like, they come back in. They're still that top 1, top 2 seed. And you're like, ooh, Phoenix, look out.
Exactly. And whatever is going on with that contract, it really is bothersome to me because I did see a report right before we started recording. And again, I didn't look at the source, anything. I was just scrolling through Twitter, but it was something like, the Suns don't see Ayton as the caliber of money like Luka or a Trey.
They wildin' if they don't see that.
I take that super personal.
That's the MJ meme, right?
Yeah,
I took that personally.
For real, man. And like to this young guy who is developing too still, and I mean his mind as well. He's credited Chris Paul for helping him very much. I mean, come on. Like, he banged himself up all finals last season.
As I said,
pay the man.
They do not make the NBA finals last year without DeAndre Ayton. And number two, I know Giannis went off and did his thing. However, if you look at the numbers, when DeAndre Ayton guarded Giannis, he did the best. Giannis was under 50% from the floor. So my point is, you need this man if you think you're winning a championship. Okay, the idea of like he's not worth what Luka and Trey is. Stop. Like, stop it. No DeAndre Ayton, this team is trash.
And repeating what we said last week too, because I know you also feel strongly about this, especially when you have these young rookies, don't mess with their money.
Don't with young guys like this, don't do it because they'll feel disrespected. Right? That's not where you want to go.
And then when somebody comes in and swoops them up, because he could be eligible to be a free agent.
You
So
got that right. You got that right.
you just watch and see, Phoenix. You will climb right back down to the dumpster that you were just as fast as you climbed up. I'm laughing because personally they were one of the original dumpster fires.
Indeed.
Let's go to our last team in the West, the title contender, of course, the Utah Jazz, led by, of course, Donovan Mitchell and co. And this is a special team. They were the number 1 seed in the West all last season. And again, another postseason slump for them. But there is so much potential in Utah. It is not even funny. Talk to me about this squad.
They were the number 1 team with all the metrics last year in the NBA. Number 1. So this is something to prove. Now, to be fair, they had injuries at the worst time last year to Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, right? Like,
A bad ankle
I
sprain.
mean, your starting guards are out. Like that's you're done, right? That doesn't help you. Okay. Now, of course, Rudy Gobert, best defender in the league, 3-time DPOY winner. You know, he's a huge and integral part of this team. But now this is something to prove for the Jazz for sure, and this is show me time. No more excuses. Okay. Quinn Snyder has to be better as a coach in the postseason. He cannot. Again, I always talk about this, Jenna. Why do I love Ty Lue and Nick Nurse so much? Because they're not wedded to their system, okay? Like, intransigence is not what you need in the postseason. You got to be flexible. Yo, this ain't working? Cool. Let's flip it and do something different, okay? Whatever it takes to win. And Quinn has not shown that ability to adjust in-game and do what's necessary, as well as someone like Ty Lue, right, who does the same thing. Mm-hmm. So, they picked up some nice acquisitions. They got Rudy Gay, which I think is going to be a nice fit for them. I don't love Hassan Whiteside instead of Derek Favors, even though Favors would get targeted on defense. Hassan Whiteside, not great. They lost George Niang, Ersan Ilyasova. I mentioned Favors. But they have all the pieces you need to be an NBA championship squad. They have it. It's there.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Will they is a question. And again, that's on Quentin. That's on Donovan and Rudy and everybody. Hey, all ships pointing in the right direction. Let's do the thing. We shall see. But this team is good enough. They are more than good enough.
This is their time. And speaking of the Jazz, last quick note. Did you see Dwayne Wade's son signed with the G League affiliate of the Jazz?
I mean, what's good of being the owner of the Jazz if you can't get any perks? You know what I mean? I mean, what's the point? If I can't get my son a shot on the G League squad, what are we doing?
Hey, he's good. He's good. Check out that
highlight. Little Zaire Wade. Shouts to Zaire.
That's it. Oh, God, I love it. I just want to cry. I'm so happy. All right. Here I am. I'm okay. I'm fine. All right, Jarod, take us home, dear.
Well, folks, as always, you know where to find us. I will say those were our 2 conference preview episodes. We'll do one more bonus episode this week because we're going to do our award selections, MVP, 6th Man of the Year, DPOY, all that jazz, Rookie of the Year, blah, blah, blah. We'll get through all that. So there'll be one more episode this week. And next week, Jenna, we're ready, man. Season tips off on Tuesday. Nets at Bucks and Warriors at Lakers. So, folks, you know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We are on Twitter at 7footerspod, on Instagram at 7footerspodcast, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli. And until next time, peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't here back. I don't wanna trap, what some man gon' do? Chevy told me come